Have you heard people talk about conscious breathing or ice baths and wondered what's that all about? Well, this episode's for you. Join me as I talk to Leigh Ewin, certified breathwork coach, about the benefits of cold exposure and conscious breathing for stress reduction, improvement of sleep, cardiovascular benefits, and even our immunity on this week's episode of Hunger Hunt Feast. Thank you for joining me today. Another episode of Hunger Hunt Feast. With me is Leigh Ewin. Leigh, thank you for joining me. Leigh is a breathwork coach, actually located in Finland. We connected on social media because I ordered some of your nasal dilators. I was struggling with some sleep stuff, and which we'll get into that. But you've got quite a history with it. Breathwork is just kind of still fairly new as far as in the US, but you've been at this for quite a while. I mean, you've got a Wim Hof certification, you have Oxygen Advantage certification. How did you get into breathwork?
Well, it's a kind of classic story, It's a classic story. First of all, these things always used to seemingly start with me, explaining that yes, I'm an Australian living in Finland.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean? Like, yes, it's possible. It is possible for an Australian to survive, not only move but survive 13 years
near the Arctic Circle.
Well, yeah, not let's say closer than I was before.
Closer, closer
So,
than typical Australian.
Yeah, and I was an athletic guy growing up. I was I was at a performance, like a college where like all the Australian Institute of Sport athletes were training at. So it was a recognized sports college. A lot of Olympic athletes, like future NBA, WNBA players have been kind of attending this school. So I was a bit of a jock kind
Gotcha.
of, wannabe athletic athlete. And I've always approached many aspects of life like that too. And when push comes to shove, when you're faced with some changes in life, when you're faced with stress, basically, anxiety can creep in. A lot of these things come in, creep into your life. My usual response was put the pedal to the metal and just work your way out of it. Just go back to the gym again. Oh, you've been to the gym this morning? Okay, let's go again in the evening. Or call up a friend and say, hey, you want to go and do a run? Or whatever it is, digging into more work, whatever it might be. Just kind of go. And it's not sustainable, we know that.
Right.
And a lot of males have a problem with this. Females, ladies, seem to be a little bit more accustomed or a little bit more in tune with that kind of down regulation, if you want to call it. So I was just looking at myself and looking at what kind of tools I really had. Like, what are my reactions when I'm feeling like this? How am I doing this? And then measuring things. Like, I was into the quantified self stuff many years ago. We have actually a pretty interesting community of biohackers here in Finland. So it was actually a nice way for me to get more familiar with quantifying, like why is my sleep messed up? Why is my heart rate variability messed up? And just maybe I need to do the opposite, take the pedal, push the brake a little bit, pump the brakes. And all these, so that recognition within inside myself was one huge factor of like investigating a lot of techniques and tools and people and influencers and who are doing certain things and what are they doing. And at the same time, it's a cold country, right? So we have this, we have quite a winter here. We have frozen everything. We have 188,000 lakes. So the cold, it was a new thing to me, but I kind of jumped into the cold and I ended up using that as a way to actually meditate at the end of the day, as odd as that sounds.
Wow.
It ended up becoming a meditation for me. So these kind of things converged. And of course, when you're talking about cold nowadays, we're talking about kind of Wim Hof kind of characters as well. And I just followed this kind of the intuition and ended up with Wim Hof and training with him, climbing the mountains, staying at his house on his couch.
Awesome.
Meeting amazing people, and then finding breath work, like real breath work. And then I can honestly say that it was an interesting journey, because looking back in retrospect, it's like, actually there was moments in my life where I was doing a lot of the right things, but it wasn't really recognized as breath work. It was just sort of like kind of normal things, breathing through the nose for the whole life, sleeping with my mouth shut. All those things were kind of tick, tick, tick. You should do those. And I was doing those, but now we know why you should be doing those. So I was really interested to investigate all the science behind that too.
Absolutely. And we're going to
long answer, but there you go.
Yeah. No, and we want to unpack that, because that's one of the reasons I found you was disruptions in my sleep, using an Aura ring to track sleep.
Finnish company.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's really the best sleep tracker I've seen or I've used, and noticing that my deep sleep was not there. I had plenty of REM sleep. I could get plenty of hours of sleep, but my deep sleep wasn't there. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? That's a lack of parasympathetic, or it's a problem with the parasympathetic. And, my diet's ridiculous, not compared to normal, your average person. It's not ridiculous, maybe compared to yours, but it's pretty dialed in. And fitness was there, maybe overdoing it sometimes. I tend, you and I, like we've briefly discussed before, we can overdo it. Like you mentioned, you were getting to where it's like you can push your pedal a little too hard and not realize it, just kind of, and all in the name of health, all in the name of performance and health, and realize there's an element of recovery that is vital for high performance. It can't be go, go, go all the time. So you're, like I mentioned, your nasal dilators, which I'd ordered someone just to brag for a second. I'd ordered some on Amazon. They have this little adjustment thing on like a tab, and it sticks out, and it was like annoying, like it digs into the inside your nostrils, not a smooth entry, or exit. It's like it hurts and it cuts. So yours were like totally smooth, and I've been using it ever since, every night, just to keep sinuses open, to breathe through the nose, less through the mouth. I was starting to snore more. I'm like, what is going on? I think an element of age, but there's a certain amount of use it or lose it. And if you don't use this nose for breathing the majority of the time, you will start having problems. I started having allergy symptoms that I hadn't had in years, or started having it. And so it's like treating it like a muscle or a system or something you want to train. You've got to train it for it to be effective.
Yeah.
And I don't think everybody realizes breath work for that. It's a system that ties into your autonomic nervous system, right? Your vagus nerve.
Your whole nervous system, right? So both ways. So if like it is like we're talking about parasympathetic, right? And stimulating the vagus nerve, which like has a direct tie to your heart and your heart rate. So every exhale every breath we take, the classic song, every breath we take, every time you exhale, you're stimulating the vagus nerve, you're lowering the heart rate. You can see it on a pulse oximeter every time, or you can sense it now. Just breathe and understand that every time you're inhaling, it's an active part of the breath. You have to pull the air in, right? So, and now take an exhale, let the air fall out. It happens sort of like by itself, right? So it's more of a resting, it's more of a parasympathetic when we tie in the vagus nerve. So
like a release.
Like a release, exactly. And then the issue that we're facing, as to your point, is that we're going through all these stressful situations, and what happens is we lose control of the breath. We breathe too much. I mean, think about it, right? Whether it's the cold, whether you're just about to get hit by a car, whether someone shocks you or surprises you, what's the first reaction? Mouth open. Right. So, and then of course, obviously, then the hormones, adrenaline, all those things kick in, and you're in this fight or flight, sympathetic, like aroused mode. And we can actually use the breath like a remote control. We can use the breath to shift that and reposition, or let's say like influence our state, right? And eventually, when you get a good grasp of your own breathing, and you know, you look at the mechanics, you look at the techniques, you look at the cadence of the breath, you start to understand, okay, like I'm in control. And that's the most powerful thing that about breath work. So simple and a totally autonomic process of the body, yet we can actually jump in the steer, you know, grab the steering wheel and drive this baby, you know.
That's amazing. It really is amazing. Something people don't realize or think about. I certainly didn't. And there's different approaches. I mean, there's those like Wim Hof seems to stimulate more of the sympathetic as a training method. It seems like it's training your body to handle stress, puts it like a workout would. The oxygen advantage side is much more parasympathetic. It does increase cardiovascular benefits, but it seems to tap into more of, like you said, slower, limited breathing through the nose, much more parasympathetic and calming.
Yeah.
Am I oversimplifying that, or?
I mean, no, it's pretty much spot on. There's the thing with all these different techniques as well is they're all based upon certain principles, you know. So we know, and again, we've forgotten over the course of time that actually we need CO2. We need carbon dioxide to basically rise inside of the, you know, inside of our body, increase levels in the blood, so that we can actually release or trigger the release of oxygen, right? So that's where we're talking about reducing the rate of breath, taking different like pauses inside. Like most people would consider a breath. What does a breath look like? What's a normal breath look like? Most people think it's or like this. That's a 2-part breath. What happens if we add another leg to the breath? What happens if we inhale, pause, and then let the air fall out? You know, I anyone watching or listening this, I just do this. Just whether you want to breathe through your mouth, through your nose, no worries. Just take 3 breaths in and out. Just in, out, in, out. Okay, right? Now let's take 3 breaths, exactly the same, but now add a pause before you breathe out. So pause, out. Breathing in, pause, out. And again, breathing in, pause, out. Completely different state that you're in. A little bit more maybe focused, but maybe it's still alive because, you know, it's still quite fast way of breathing. But just that little pause allows a little bit more oxygen delivery, which is the main key. And we've got to, at this point, it's probably good to mention that every time you breathe in, around about 70 to 78% of your breath, of the air that you bring in, the oxygen that you bring in, goes straight back out again.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
that's
that.
So how do we get the oxygen delivered into the cells, into the tissues where it's actually needed? And the answer is the CO2. We use the CO2 as the driver to initiate the delivery of the oxygen. Yeah.
So the breath work then builds up the amount of CO2 in your system.
Yeah, the pause, right? Because I mean, even now, you know, whether we're sitting there still, the brain requires a lot of energy, a lot of, you know, we're actually, well, the most energy of any organ or any place within the body, right? So we're constantly using energy, producing and using burning energy, which of course in turn produces CO2. So we're constantly producing CO2 in varying rates when we're sitting, whether we're active. And that's why we don't have to breathe so much. Right now, your breathing's probably, I don't know, 10, 12 breaths in a minute, 15 maybe. Whereas if you're kind of walking around, it's more likely to be 25 breaths in a minute or something like that, depending on the rate of breath, because there's a demand on energy. So we're producing the CO2, but it's not until we kind of like start, this is where breath work and conscious breath work comes into play, because we can start to sort of like tinker around with certain parts of the breath. Do we want a longer inhale do we want to introduce more oxygen and then have this long pause so it kind of hopefully rams that oxygen in, gets it in? Do we want to have a longer exhale, like you said before, stimulating the vagus nerve, calmer, relaxing, shifting the state to a more kind of parasympathetic. So, like I said, it's a remote control.
Wow, that's fantastic. So that's how you coach people in breathwork. You do workshops and so forth to help people, right?
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I mean, it's well, my mom's always laughing at me because she's like, okay, so you're the Aussie guy that moved to Finland. You teach the Finns about cold, and for everyone else, you teach them about air. Okay, this kind of running joke there. But she gets it now because she wanted to do she wanted to figure out, like, okay, what's this all about? So she likes some of the stuff that I'm doing too. But it's fascinating because we're helping, like you mentioned before, allergies, right? This time of the year. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are kind of like, we don't want to hover around those kind of subjects, but people are a little bit more stressed about now, right? There's all these kind of uncertainties, like more uncertainties than usual. There's a lot of conversations about the world and can't travel, can't visit people, blah blah blah. And at the same time, is it a coincidence that we also have a lot of people that are getting more of these seasonal symptoms, like the hay fever things are popping up a lot more this year? Over here, they are for sure. Yeah. And of course, the seasonal thing, that has some bearing of that. But I mean, stress and not breathing correctly, and the filtration system of the nose and all the sinuses, everything like this. If people are stressed, they've got their mouth open, they're more likely to breathe pollen and whatever else straight into the lungs, unfiltered. And of course, it's going to be harder to breathe. And of course, the issue that we have, or we find with that, is it compounds the issue. The more you breathe, the more you can't breathe, the more you're in this this sympathetic state where you want to, the first reaction is, okay, I just got to get more air in. I suffered from childhood asthma. We call it croup. I don't know if it's familiar with you or your listeners, but I used to suffer from this, and it would be a horrendous feeling to know that, like, I would really be like like this, like really, really trying to get the air in, and you just didn't know where the next breath was coming from. And there's many times where I didn't have my little inhaler thing that they gave me, because I don't know, I actually, you don't know as a kid what that does. I still actually don't truly know what those little things used to do. Used to open the blood vessels. I know that much. I know they used to open the blood vessels. But the thing was that I had to, many times I wouldn't have it with me, and I had this attack. I wouldn't have this little inhaler, and I really had to calm myself and control myself and try and calm the breathing down. Otherwise, like, I was so scared I might not breathe again. And there was I can share one funny story with you as well that kind of highlighted this and shows you that there is definitely a psychological element to breathing and some of these conditions as well. In one basket, like, I was a basketball guy. Basketball was my game, and rugby too, but basketball, and this particular time of my life, I was quite young. Must have been maybe 12 or 13 or something, and I was in the basketball game, and I was trying really hard, and like running around and whatever, and I had this kind of like this attack, and my mum was there, and then my basketball coach was there, and I was like, over to the sideline, and I was like doing this thing, and they were like, my mum said to the basketball coach, hey, can you take him to the bathroom, turn the shower on like really hot, and kind of get the humidity, and then she kind of came to the men's bathroom, but she was standing by the doorway, so she was like, not coming in there. And then she's like, okay, Leigh, just get your gear off and go in the shower, take your clothes off and go in the shower. And I was like, what? Like, my coach is here, you know what I mean? And funnily enough, that alone was enough for me to I was like, whoa, actually, I'm gonna have to I might have to I'm gonna do that. My mom's telling me to do that. And I was able to calm the breath as a result. You know what I mean?
Motivation.
Yeah. So there's like, in a way, there's definite like that would have, I believe that would have sort of forced my hand to sort of grab the steering wheel of the breath and be like, okay, do I really need to do that, or can I do this? Can I actually
take control?
Yeah. So
wow.
But it's a funny little story. But I mean, that to me, that kind of shows that there is definitely we can steer it. We can steer this thing a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
that's not to say every obviously every breathing issue can, there are people have different shape sizes. They have, problems with their lung cancer, a whole range of stuff. But in some cases, simply adding the conscious element to the breath is a big part of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think what big problem a lot of people suffer from is sleep. Like I mentioned, mine was sleep. And so sleep apnea, snoring, that's all related to mouth breathing. And there's this thing that's kind of come on, slowly in the US. I think it's probably been around where you, because just the circles you run in, but you mentioned before, mouth taping. So you start making yourself close your mouth while you sleep to make yourself use your nose and start training that to work again. And so I had to begin doing that. And you mention it to people and they'll kind of like, you do what? It just sounds like some weird, sadistic
you say that. Yeah, we're taping the kids' mouths. We're taping our kids' mouth.
Yeah, I know a guy, a nutritionist in Seattle who does it with his wife and they're with his kids, and people kind of look at you funny, but it's like this is how it's supposed to work. American Indians, Native Americans, classically breathe through their nose. It's recorded in the 1800s. Breathe through their nose, almost never open their mouth. Would pull the kids' lips shut when they're breathing, babies, to allow not just the facial structural development, jaw development, but as we're seeing now with more, as people get past 40, it seems to be more prevalent, the sleep apnea and snoring. This is all directly related to how you're breathing. I mean, through where you're breathing, right? Yeah. So if people correcting that through your breathing methods.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so firstly, the taping's really good. There's one major mistake a lot of people make, because what happens is your listeners or the viewers here they're like, hey, all right, now I've got to go and tape the mouth, right?
Right.
So the thing to remember is, like, what's the point of taping the mouth? What's the actual point? It's not to seal the mouth.
Right.
Okay. It's literally just to be like, you kind of touched, like you approach that in the perfect way. It's like, it's just to encourage the lips to close. Mm-hmm. Right. So in many cases, or I always recommend that you tape like vertically, right? So it's more like this, like you would be like, shh, if someone's only listening to this, it's like from the underneath your nose downwards towards your chin. So just a thin strip of tape, just like that. And then guess what? If it feels a bit funny or whatever, you can still open the corner of your mouth or whatever, if you're just learning that. But the problem that some people make is that they have it in their head. Like, I've had people say, hey, so I've seen that you should tape your mouth, and they're like really taping the thing closed. And it was like, I felt like I was suffocating. It's like, well, you almost probably were. So, and then you've lost half your moustache and your beard and the rest of it. So, although some people
you need training wheels, right? You need training wheels. You don't put them on the road bike and send them 50 and seal it up and like, now time to breathe through your nose completely when you haven't been doing it. That's what I've learned to do. I learned the hard way, but I put one right across here, just enough. Yeah. And now there's nights where I don't really even need to do it. Yeah, and it's kind of off and on, depends on if I wake up. So
you nailed it earlier on. I mean, this is something I'm always saying as well. It's like you use it or lose it, right? It's exactly how when you talk about nasal breathing, I mean, like you say to someone, oh, can you breathe through your nose? And there's a whole range. Like, if someone knows they're not breathing through their nose, then you'll hear, I've got a deviated septum, it's misaligned, one nostril stronger than the other, or like it's too small, it doesn't, all that kind of stuff. Guess what? 84% of people actually have misshaped nostrils.
Yeah.
So like how are there really good breathers out there doing it and you know, getting by, or not only just getting by, but actually performing at high levels as well. So what we're saying here is it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible for everyone to breathe through the nose. At least, okay, most people, of course, we can't always say everyone. There are definitely cases where it's just not possible in certain ways. My dad actually he's a rugby guy and his nose has been smashed so many times, and you know, some smoking in there at some points of life as well. And he has very shallow breathing, and he has a CPAP machine, which is obviously pushing.
Right.
You know, delivering oxygen down the airways, like, you know, over the mask and hoping to get the air in. And that for him, it's really hard without surgery. It's really hard for him to be able to breathe, but it's people were getting these kind of surgeries, actually probably unnecessarily, in years past, because they felt like they couldn't breathe through the nose, and all they needed to do was just actually commit to trying. And as you've experienced, there's many other people experiencing, even if you're sleeping only 6 hours of a night, but you're taping the mouth and you're breathing through your nose, that's 6 hours training, right? Name one other thing where you can actually just you're training while you're sleeping.
Yeah, it's a passive training. It's amazing. And then becoming more conscious and aware when I'm driving, when I'm out and about, you know, just breathing through the nose, just paying attention to how I'm breathing and
that's the first step,
pace
really.
that I'm breathing. How can I slow that down? Can I calm that? Can I do a quick breath hold for 30 seconds or something like that? You know, just to fit in. And because there are cardiovascular performance benefits to that as well, which have been shown and proven, you know, over and over again.
Oxygen delivery.
Oxygen delivery. Yeah. It's like you said, the pressure of the CO2 pushes the oxygen into the tissues in a much stronger, like elevation training. So basically it's been compared to elevation training, correct? Where you have a higher elevation, where you have a difficulty, there's less pressure. So your body adapts to pull oxygen in more efficiently. So I believe the CO2 basically does that. It pushes, correct? Is that pushes the oxygen into the tissues?
So, well, not entirely. So what happens is that basically, you know, our blood is carrying around, like, it has this certain protein in there, this hemoglobin. Probably heard, you know, everyone knows probably this before. And what happens is you know, when you breathe in, you get the air in, and it's traveling around your body in the hemoglobin. And what happens is it's just carrying it around the body, right? Until CO2 raises to a certain level. It's kind of like, in a way, it's like this kind of a micro, like, in a way, a stress, right? It's just, in a way, it's a stress response. It's saying, okay, rising levels of CO2, which is kind of like in a way, like you know, it's not a toxic gas, but it's a waste gas, right? And it's not until that rise of CO2 triggers the release, you know, the hemoglobin to release the load of oxygen.
Gotcha.
So there's like, it's not about a pressure thing. It's more about it's more about the increase of CO2 actually, like, communicates with the hemoglobin. Gotcha. It's like, okay, now we need to actually release the load of oxygen, which, again, just about every breathing podcast probably mentions. Like, if you want to explain it, if you want to understand it, think about the hyperventilation, right? So if someone's me on the basketball court, like like this, my mom or the coach couldn't tell me, like, hey, just get the air in, just get the air in. What's happening? Air going in, air going out. So just, and you know, CO2 and oxygen being dispersed from the body. So there was never that moment where the CO2 is actually building to a point. I'm just dumping the CO2 every time, right? right?
But
So we know the classic intervention that we make in that situation usually is the brown paper bag,
right,
over, CO2 out into the brown paper bag, CO2 back in, CO2 out, CO2 back in,
right.
and eventually the CO2 level rises to a point where actually the hemoglobin releases the oxygen into the bloodstream, and the person will slowly, under, okay, I can breathe again. That's how it works. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's the easier. I know. I feel like I say that a lot. That one, but it's the most practical and easiest way to explain how it works. Because we've seen someone, whether it in a movie or whether it's in real life, we've seen someone get that brown paper bag and go through that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a distinct difference between nose breathing and mouth breathing beyond just the like sleep apnea dangers and stuff. So, I mean, there's a different level of, besides just the moisturizing, filtering, does that not trigger with the sympathetic nervous system? Does that not change? If you could help kind of dig into that a little bit, just to unpack that a little bit more. I know you've touched on already, but you said mouth is more stimulating, right? More sympathetic, more panicked.
It's more, I would say, aroused, right, or active. Whether we're not saying that we're not saying that mouth breathing is bad, full stop. There are great moments. Think about some of the greatest, even the Ethiopian distance runner at some, like that last lapper in the Olympics. I mean, they're like really going, they really need to, they're really going hard, and they need to actually dump CO2. Their body is producing so much, burning through so much fuel, so much energy for whatever it is, an hour and a bit or whatever. So there are really good moments when we need to do that. And there are really, that also ties in with some of the breathwork techniques like the Wim Hof method and so on, where that's definitely at play, when there's like bringing the air in and then dumping the CO2. And then we can really manipulate or alter or influence that in certain ways. So once we understand these principles and how these things work, we can kind of move those around and shift them as we need to. So mouth breathing is really, really, it's still really important. It's very important. And there's absolutely moments in life where we need that. I would say I always say that for 23 hours of the day, breathe through your nose. For gotcha. An hour or maybe 15 minutes or whatever it is, if you're in the gym or whatever you're doing, or if you're just breathing, you're practicing a certain breathing technique, hey, go for the breathe through your mouth, whatever, no problems. So the differences are actually they're compounded. When we start looking at the nose and we look at all these factors, we start understanding that there's links in a chain here. There's links in a chain. So the very fact that we're breathing in through our nose, you mentioned it before, right? We have the filtration, it's basic stuff, but when you kind of link all this stuff together, you start to understand why it's so efficient, why it's actually why it's allowing so much oxygen to sort of get to where it needs to go in the tissues. So we have the filtration, it stops those particles coming in, the hairs, the mucus on the inside of the nasal wall, prevent a lot of that hay fever. That's why we get the runny nose and all that sort of stuff. It's the body literally saying, hey, we don't want that to go into the lungs. So we have that good filtration. It humidifies the air. It changes the temperature of the air. Before it goes into the lungs, it can be about 4 to 5 degrees shift downward or upward in the temperature, depending on what the weather is. So it helps us with that. It humidifies the air a little bit for us as well. So it's much easier to bring in, right? So just those things there, no foreign, no particles, no substances coming in. That's already calming the breath a little bit. Also now we're talking about the temperature of the air. That's also calming and feels more relaxed. You don't have to pull the air in. You don't have to stop on the, you can have a smooth breath inhalation and exhalation. So just those things is a really good place to start. But then also what we're talking about, this kind of secret little substance called nitric oxide, and that's produced in the sinuses up here, paranasal sinus, and only when we breathe through our nose does it spools up inside the inner wall, paranasal sinus, creates a pressure and actually creates this little molecule called nitric oxide. And guess what that does? It's a vasodilator.
Right.
Vasodilator, which opens up the veins, opens up everything, which means breathing in through your nose opens up, all the capillaries and all the blood vessels in your nose, all the way down to your lungs, the bronchi, bronchi, everything's opening up. So It's much easier to breathe, and not only that, but nitric oxide, antifungal, antibacterial as well. So, this closed loop of breathing only through your nose is it may be controversial to say, but might even be better than wearing a mask, like one of these masks. You know what I mean?
I understand.
In terms of killing pathogens and stuff like that.
Killing pathogens, but I think if the vessels are dilating, you're relaxed. That's a parasympathetic state, as opposed to when they're constricting. You drink coffee, it constricts, stimulant, any kind of stimulant constricts it. You have a more sympathetic fight or flight kind of stress response. So I think in terms of, let's say someone's coming home from a very stressful day of work, if they're trying to not go for the bottle of scotch, to take them down, maybe some 15, 20 minutes of nasal breathing, just trying to dilate, try to consciously relax, slow the breath through the nose, open up, dilate. Nitric oxide, great for the heart, great for the sex life, great for so many basically cardiovascular benefits that relate to.
That's how they found nitric oxide, because that's what Viagra is.
Right.
Opens up the blood vessels, it dilates everything, right? So I mean, that's why. I mean, we're not saying breathe through your nose and then walk around. You know what I mean? Like we're not.
No. It's longevity. It's your whole entire system affected by nitric oxide. Your heart is healthier. Your cardiovascular system is healthier in general, and you have more control over dilation and expansion, or more control. It's a better functioning system when you have that present.
Well, you can that's the cool thing with breathing, is you can literally get to a point where you can control that. You can actually get to a point where you're aware of what to do and how and when, in order to sort of influence that process. And that's the really interesting part of it. And that's where you look at free diving, which I'm a free diver, I'm a qualified free diver.
Oh, wow.
Under the ice. I've dived more free diving under the ice than in normal temperatured water, because that's just me. I love that stuff. And you need to learn how to do this. You need to know how to sort of manage that process. When the parts of the body, when the extremities are kind of constricting, and you're keeping, the circulation is keeping all the warm blood around all the important stuff, the vital organs and so on. So how to kind of mitigate some of those things, and how to manage that almost real time, and understand the process and be comfortable with that process as well. So it really, free diving and breath holding is like one of the, it's a therapy. It's a therapy, in my opinion. I don't think too many people would argue with that, because it's breath holding. Think about it, right? When you just perform a breath holding, and we're not saying drive a car, we're not saying do any of those kind of heavy duty stuff or whatever, obviously, but just laying there, like you said, instead of the scotch, coming home, imagine just laying on the couch in a comfortable position and just breathing through your nose 10 times in, out. And on the last time you breathe in, you feel your lungs, and then you just wait. And you just, you're not holding. When we say holding, we're not holding like this. We're just gently let the chest return to its natural position, but we're not breathing. We're not taking anything in. We're not letting anything go. And we're just pausing, let's say 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Then whenever you're ready, you don't have to hold on until your eyes feel like they're popping out of your skull or anything like that. Just nice and chill, nice and relaxed, nice and calm. And then just return to normal nasal breathing, 10 breaths. Same thing. And then try another little breath hold, try another little pause. Try that, just try that on repeat for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and just see what happens. See how your state shifts. If you've had a busy day at work, you've had all these Microsoft team meetings, whatever it might be, you come back from the gym, just lay on your couch and try that, and then and see how your state has shifted. It's great to know that you have these kind of things, like you can do that anywhere. You can sit in a chair, you can sit in, you can turn the car off, and you can, before you go in the house, you can do that.
Sure. Before
and
you
just
get bombarded with the family and all the moving parts of a household. Yeah. Take your
In fact, it's really important for people. Like, I would encourage many people to do just that, because I mean, you are not your thoughts, and if you've thought that if you've gotten caught up in a busy day and a hectic life and all that, and you're going to bring that back into your family, in your home, it's worthwhile like managing that before you enter the home, for the sake of yourself, and just so you can turn up to be the best father, wife, person you can for others around you and yourself.
Right. Absolutely. Now, something you just mentioned was the ice diving and breathing through that. So big part of the Wim Hof method is obviously cold exposure.
Yeah.
Something, again, catching on here slowly, because we're very comfortable. Americans, we love our comfort. We love our warmth and our controlled temperatures. Whereas, like, I mean, where you are in Finland, I mean, sauna, cold exposure, all the Nordic area, it's been there for hundreds of years. Russia, the steam baths and then the ice that's like part of the culture, embedded. Still very, you just mention a cold shower to someone in the US and they'll kind of like, their eyes will, so let's talk about
the sympathetic response straight away.
Yeah, they're scared immediately. But let's talk about the benefits of cold exposure, and then maybe some ways that people can just start with, building that up.
Yeah. So, well, it's cool that you mentioned the sauna, because actually sauna is the only Finnish word in the English dictionary. You know what I mean? So it's like a Finnish invention as well. So actually I have one in my home as well. Like, I have literally they build apartments here with the sauna in there as well. So getting this full like contrast exposure, in a way, again, therapy or treatment or, training stimulus, if you want to say it like that, is super, it's a part of the culture for sure. The benefits of look, there's a multitude of benefits, ranging from kind of like that motivational, psychological benefits, getting up in the morning, like you said, cold shower, turn the, and say, all right, I'm going to do this, and then if you do that for 20, 30 seconds, 1 minute, maybe the full shower, if you're like experienced, then tell me whether you need that coffee. Remember you said before that the coffee,
constricts the blood vessels,
restricts the blood vessels, veins, like this. The cold does a little bit that as well, but then when it opens back up, you'll have a little bit of those happy hormones going through. You'll have a little bit of adrenaline. You'll have a little bit more energy. Blood pressure increases a little bit in the morning as well. So you're kind of you're online, and that can last a while too. So there is that kind of nice kind of patting yourself on the back and saying, okay, good one, you did that. You're winning the day already. You're doing something difficult. So there's this psychological, advantage in a way that you're setting yourself up for the rest of the day, hopefully. But then, of course, there's there's this sort of, let's say like this, the usual response when we get, you even said it before, like, okay, someone gets into the cold water. It's a sympathetic response. And then the training mechanism of looking into this, like actually real time, mitigating or managing that response is where a lot of the value for me personally, as at the right at the start, remember I said it's like a meditation now. So it's gone to the point where, of course, I still go in the cold, and there's like my body is telling me, hey, it's a threat. There's my nervous system is firing up and saying, hey,
get out.
You really want to be in here? Like, really? Again, or what? And you get that opportunity to basically look at yourself, understand and then say, okay, how do we do this? Relax, breathe, slow the breath, stimulate the vagus nerve, all of those good things, and relax into it. And sort of like, in a way, accept it, and then hopefully be at peace with it too. So it's kind of like a really, again, it's a little bit psychological, but there's obviously a physiological, the steps, physiological steps that we take to get to that kind of moment of peace or that relaxation, right? So there's that part of it as well. But then when we look at when we look at these big, the big benefits of this cold exposure, it's all about white blood cell counts. The Wim Hof study is an amazing one where it shows that actually through controlled gradual cold exposure and through these different breathing exercises, you can actually reduce the amount of white blood cells in the body, almost like a reset. And you know that the big killer is inflammation, right? White blood cells equals overproduction of white blood cells equals inflammation, and inflammation is literally just your body's reaction to threats, right? It's a perceived threat. So if someone yells, you might produce a few extra white blood cells. If you eat some bad food, if you whatever the situation, you get stressed, whatever it is, allergies, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then the thing is like, okay, how do we stop that? How do we prevent that? And we're now seeing that the cold, lengthened, exposure to the cold actually completely, basically kind of resets that whole thing. It resets the whole production of white blood cells in your body. That's one of the key things. And then also we're looking at the immune system and the kind of like basically building up your immunity and your resilience towards cold and other sort of threats like this as well. So those are the main ones. And then of course we look at like fat loss, like burning fats, production of brown fat, brown adipose tissue, which again, like more links in the chain.
Let's unpack that a little bit for people who don't understand.
Sure.
So that's brown fat is an active fat. It's very part of your active metabolism or heat generating, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fat of any nature is an energy source, right? It's stored energy in the body essentially. And you said it's an active form of fat, brown adipose tissue. It actively seeks out white fat stores in the body, breaks those down, uses them, and burns it off as heat, basically. So what we're seeing with people that are actually just even living in climates like Finland, in colder climates, they have naturally occurring like more brown fat, brown adipose tissue naturally occurring in their bodies, usually found up around the neck, neck and shoulder areas like this. And then, obviously the more you go and expose yourself to cold, the more your body wants to, again, it's like in a way, it's a stress, it's like a hormetic effect, hormesis, if you know the concept.
Absolutely,
yeah. So
it stimulates the production of that to protect itself from the cold.
Well, to basically give you fuel or like extra protection in a way, not protection like this, but like saying, okay, he's probably going to go to the cold again soon, so let's have some more of that so that he's ready next time, so we can actually warm up, thermogenesis, all the rest of it. So
we can actually in that way help with fat loss because it stimulates maybe white fat that's been kind of, you want to say stuck, but stubborn to be burned, but it stimulates your metabolism. It's a part of your metabolic system, but that we tend to lose in the more comfortable environment we tend to have less, like you mentioned, less of it, lose it completely. Some of us, we're born with it, but we're not, but as we grow older, we lose it because we don't need it, right? Use it or lose it.
Exactly. A baby, the nervous system of a child is not developed at all, right? So what does it have? It's born with brown fat so that it it can shiver a little bit, it can activate some of that brown fat, and then it actually burns it down, heats the baby up before it can actually, it will really early on, the baby can't actually shiver, right? That's the point. It can't control itself like this. It doesn't have that neural network hasn't formed in a way, right? So it's sort of like it's its only little chance. And then as many things like nasal breathing too, right? The baby is born breathing through the nose, as it's supposed, like as the most organic, authentic version of itself, doing all these things, having all these things. And then later on in life, you know, we kind of replace a lot of that functionality. And this kind of circles back to what you said before about the use it or lose it kind of thing. Brown fat, you have to actually stimulate that. Muscle, we know that you got to go to the gym and pump the bicep, or guess what? The body says, hey, we don't need to carry that around. It's not efficient to do that, right? And a whole range of other things too, right?
Well,
so it's
the
about
white blood cells, like overactive. I think of an overactive immune system reacting almost autoimmune, where it's like attacks. You get too much of it, you start attacking yourself, or you start attacking foods that you shouldn't be allergic to, but for some reason you are. Or, I mean, so we're talking about resetting systems that are chronically causing chronic disease, and are clearly, if you look at bulk of Western population, they're overactive. They're inflamed. We're getting way too much disease.
And you know, like if you want to talk about epidemics, I mean, like the autoimmune issues that people are facing now is just like, you know, like there's stuff we barely know. Like people are coming up with the most rarest things ever, and it's like, whoa, how is it? Like, we didn't even know that existed like 10 years ago or whatever. You're getting fibromyalgia, and you're getting you know, Crohn's disease, where people can't digest certain proteins in a certain way. That's like I know a lot of people that have had that, and I keep telling them, hey, go to the cold, try the cold. No, they go to the pharmacy and grab, you know, the doctor said I get this big box of things and I've got to go there every month, and you know what I mean? And it kind of it helps the thing, but it's not like treating the thing. It's just kind of treating those symptoms, unfortunately. And
it's not root cause, right?
Yeah, and of course the issue with those things obviously is that they can also upset your gut biome and all the rest of it. So you know, again, it's a chain reaction. When all we need to do, or what we could do, we could start with these kind of organic, not like very, very like basic functions of the body, and saying, okay, all right, am I stressed right now? Probably yes. Okay, I've got this kind of like I've got arthritis all of a sudden. I've got this Crohn's, whatever it is. Maybe, just maybe, I could look at breathing, calming myself down, you know, which is also kind of regulating and changing the composition of the blood, right? Because, you know, we have this constant, you know, we're in this, it's everything's in a balance, right? Everything inside the body is in a delicate balance. Your hypothalamus is kind of constantly in overdrive, looking around your environment, trying to scan and trying to make decisions for your body, and trying to say, hey, do I need to warm up? Do I need to cool down? Do we need more like oxygen in? You know, all these kind of things. And a lot of the time when we're stressed, things are just out of balance. We're more acidic environment. We have more CO2 build up in the body constantly. We have, you know, the composition of the blood is more acidic by default. Whole like gut biome, everything is out of whack. And all we need to do is look at these basic things. The cold is a huge one. The cold, I really can't state it too fine a point on it, that people should really be practicing in a weekly regimen of cold. Sauna as well. Doing sauna upwards of 3+ times per week will actually help you live longer. Fasting, you know,
I'm a big fasting guy. I'm doing it for 10 years. 10 years I've been fasting. So, I mean, it's
exactly. So we look at all these things, like none of these things that really cost anything. If you live close by to a cold, like some kind of body of water, and it's safe to get in there, obviously. Sauna, you know, they're popping up all over the place. If you don't have one in your house, if you don't know someone who's got one in their backyard or whatever, you can probably find one nowadays at one of these like a lot of gyms are starting to install them and so on. All the gyms have them here. Fasting doesn't cost anything. You just need to know and prepare yourself how to do this, and then you know that heat and any kind of like resistance training is a great thing. When you start like lining those things up throughout your week, and seeing how one can flow steadily into the other, and how all of those processes are connected by the breath as well. I mean, you can start to build up a pretty nice level of resilience inside yourself, you know, and you kind of you have that whatever balance, balance is not a static thing. Balance is constantly
It's
moving.
constant. Yeah. There's no, you've
Sleep.
arrived.
Yeah.
Homeostasis is a very active, yeah. And balance, as you said, it's active. It's constant movement to
Exactly.
recalibrate. How would
Yeah.
people get started? Like, what's the recommended amount of, like, give us some ballpark getting started in cold exposure? I know cold showers. I started with cold showers. You mentioned that if you don't have like a lake nearby, you just want something you can do kind of rarely in your home without a lot of travel, but or fill a tub with ice or whatever. But what's a good protocol?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously the cold showers give you it's a nice sort of like neat way to do it in a
Yeah.
way. It's safe. It's in your own home. It's available, you know, should be available. I mean, most places have cold water. Okay,
Yeah.
Arizona, maybe not. And, a
Yeah.
couple of those places, maybe not. But it's kind of relative as well. You'll still get some sort of relative effect in those places if you're used to having a warm shower. So that's the first place to get it. Then if you can, at least once a week, you should. I recommend everyone getting out to a cold plunge of some description.
Okay. So full immersion,
You know,
you're talking about.
full immersion, and then that doesn't mean dunking the head under. You don't need to put the head under. And in some cases, you can like leave the arms out or whatsoever. But just making sure that you get like a sort of up to the chest immersion in the cold. Couple of minutes, as you can, as it's safe to do so, for sure. I mean, this is the key one. And those cryo saunas as well.
Oh yeah.
The ones.
Cryotherapy.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're quite good as well. But again, it's exactly what we've been doing here in Finland. Like literally, it's like the hole in the ice.
Right. It
You know
is.
what I mean? It's like literally a cylinder. It's a tube, and it's just opens in a different way, and it blasts the cold air. And I'll be honest with you, those things are like, I think they're a little bit showy. I think, you know what I mean? I don't know if they're the same. Like, I don't believe you get the same level. I actually know that there's been like 3 or 4 studies I've seen that compare the two. The full body in water immersion is much, well, it's not much. It's a decent amount better for you. It gives more effect. Yeah, more effective is the word.
And you're looking for, like you said, a minute and a half, 2 minute kind of
minimum
to kind of get the effect, right?
Well, again, it's a residual thing too, right? So sure. Of course you start with the cold showers and then you work your way towards 30 seconds in a full immersion or a minute. Like the thing you don't want to do is say like, hey, Wim Hof did this, or Leigh Ewin did that, or this one, whoever said 10 minutes was easy, so let's do it. I'm going to beat him. And, you start looking at this competitive side of it, and you can find yourself a little bit too, there are risks with these things, and it's very rare that things should go really wrong. But, you can definitely, trust me, I've made all the mistakes known to mankind with this stuff, because I was the Australian doing it all by myself,
Gotcha.
So I freaked out a few times. I panicked. I thought I was never going to feel my fingers again. I moved around too fast and got the blood flow. I did, you name it, I did it, and still survived. But now I can tell people safely what not to do.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's
the thing. The cold showers in one immersion a week, every 6-7 days, is what the studies show is the right dose, because the white blood cell count will actually remain low, or like really low, for about 6-7 days. Yeah.
So is there a water temp to get below? Is there a certain, like if you're creating something in your bathtub?
50 Fahrenheit. I think 50 should get below 50. I think.
Okay.
I think it is. I think it's 50. I think.
Okay.
I think that's
in
what
that ballpark. So it doesn't need to be near freezing necessarily. It could just be cold.
Yeah,
it's just
like. Well, in the summer, I'm training down at this we got this little spa down here, and they've got like a cold pool, and it's 8 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but at least it's 8 degrees Celsius.
Probably close to 40 in Fahrenheit.
It's good. It's a pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good.
Yeah,
dose.
I bet that's plenty. That's cold enough.
hey, the even the Baltic Sea here, right? The Baltic Sea here in Finland gets to minus 1.3, 1.5 because there's it's like fresh water, but it's got a certain level of salt in it, so it actually goes below
Freezing
zero.
temp. Yeah.
Yeah, the average
Of
in
normal water.
sort of like January, February is minus 1.5, and you know, we're talking about like 50 centimeters or a few feet or whatever that is of ice. So we like overnight. I've literally, it's been so cold when I've done this before. I've dug the hole out and gone in, gone out, and it's already started to form a thin, like thin layer, like ever so thin layer. It's like, is that like, yeah. So it gets pretty cold, but you don't have to do like that. But
right, that has to be ice cold. But
you have
just
no choice.
yeah.
If we're going to do it in the winter, that's it. That's how it is.
The hormetic response, though, to get the benefits, people kind of know that the biohacking, but some just things we're overlooking, simple things we can do that make a big difference without medication, without it's not another workout. It's just you're treating your body's systems, excuse me,
Yeah.
regulating, resetting, and stimulating really our immune system in a way that we've lost the stimulus, or we've lost the natural, like you guys have the natural environment for it to some degree if you take advantage of it. In many places in the US, we don't have the natural environment, is gone. We're just so comfort. So we don't get these things, but it's not part of the culture here. The culture here is very comfort. It's not, we're not,
Let me put it this way. Have you ever seen an elastic band sitting on the floor, on the ground? When the mailman comes and, one of those things flies off somewhere and he doesn't know, and you might be on your way for the front door. You'll see this elastic band there on the ground and you're like, okay. And then you walk and a few days pass and you've got this elastic band still there, and a few days more pass. And then one day you go down and you pick up this elastic band. And then you're like, oh, let's see. Breaks. It breaks. It loses its form. It loses its shape. It loses its
elasticity.
It's elasticity, right? So whereas that same elastic band used every day can perform the same. You might even get more. It might even get more mail in the next. You know what I mean? It can stretch. It keeps its form. So in many ways, we are humans. People are in a way elastic band, right? If we do not use that, we do not keep it elastic, we do not perform certain things, we do not keep certain pathways open in the body, then when we go to do those one day, it may break. It may. I mean, you see, like, here's one example for 100% sure that you've seen this and experience, like you've seen somebody do this before. What happens around Christmas time? You've got the family situation, you've got maybe the scotch that you were talking about before, or the big turkey and all whatever it is, people eating, being merry, doing all those things. And then what does the father say? It's usually this male, masculine guy's like, okay, this year I'm gonna start the running, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna enter a race in the summer. So what happens? They gets the new shoes for Christmas, gets all the new gear and all the stuff, and then probably January 2nd, right? Because on January 1st, it's still recovering from the scotch. Right. But on January 2nd, it's like, okay, that's it. I'm going for a run. Goes out in the winter afternoon or evening or whatever, goes on a great run and gets back to the house and says, oh, that actually felt really good. Cool. I'm going to go back again tomorrow. Goes back tomorrow, does double the distance next time. And then by the end of the week, he's sick. Overkill, right? Jumping straight in, but then obviously not allowing the body to build up towards that, not understanding that you haven't flexed, you haven't stretched the elastic band out for 6 months, for a year, for years, whatever it is. Right. And then you get this situation where you when you need to do it or you want to do it, you have the motivation to do it, you can't respond. You're wondering why the body's not responding. You're wondering why you're not in a situation where you can actually run a couple of miles. It's like, what? When I all those years ago, I could easily run back those days in high school, all those stories. So It's just about maintenance, and it's about
Yeah.
always just doing a progressive load to these kind of things. And one thing, for example, the cold, I can share this with you as well. A lot of people I've seen, they often want to go longer and longer and further with the cold, right? They're like, okay, 5 minutes in the thing, 10 minutes. Okay. Like, how sustainable is that? Where it's like 60 minutes. Okay. 80 minutes,
Right.
At some point, your wheels will fall off completely, right? Yeah. On the way, that's a path to nowhere, right? So what can you do? Can you, for example, and you've got the Aura ring, you can kind of like, look, okay, what's the HRV looking like? What's my sleep look like? You can start looking and observing at the effects of that. But one easy thing to do is just measuring your recovery time from the cold. What I mean by that is, like, of course, when you go in the cold, it's that after the situation afterwards where you're kind of shaking a little bit and you're like, whoa, hang on, I'm getting it. That's a good thing, right?
Right.
People think it's bad to shake, like, it's a weakness or something like this, but actually it's your body saying, okay, here we go, let's warm up again, let's give you the energy and all that. So that's why we want to work with the cold. We want to move, it looks, instead of just standing there looking like this, we kind of work with that a little bit. We use the movements and use that energy, but just measure the time it takes from shivering to recovering from the shivering.
Back to homeostasis, essentially. How long does it take you to come back to homeostasis after you're, just like you would from a workout or from a run or anything else?
To be honest with you, when it was this last winter, it was one particular day, it was super cold. Actually, no, that wasn't. It was -12. I've got the photo on my Instagram, actually. I think it was -12 or -11 Celsius air temperature. And then the water was like -1 or whatever. And I went in, and a guy came with me and did a drone shoot over and stuff. And then I was in there, and he's like, hey, I'm just going to go. Are you okay in there? I'm just going to go grab the other camera, and I'll take some pictures for you and stuff. I'm like, yeah, go. And he went, and, I was like, oh, I got the wrong lens. And he went back again, all this kind of stuff. Came back, took the photos. And, I was probably there for 12, 15 minutes or something like that. And I got out, and you can see the picture on my Instagram, because, like, there's this line of red on my body. It looked like I've suffered a severe, like I've been almost like I've been put in a hot boiling
burned,
severe sunburn or something. And I'm not joking, but I didn't feel a thing. I did not feel one shiver. I did not feel one, nothing. I was like, I probably need to go back in again to spark a reaction, But that was in the middle of winter. That is like progressive load up towards, like peak season winter or whatever you want to call it. It's just getting there gradually, and that's it. That was it. And always having this little moment of a moment of reflection afterwards, but also just this moment of, like, allowing the body temperature, allowing the body to sort of, like, the blood vessels to open up slowly and work with a little bit before just putting all the clothes on. And then, you want to sort of have this little, like you said before, this stasis, this homeostatic, like, sort of balancing act a little bit in between.
Let the body respond. Let the body bring you back.
Let the body respond. Don't outsource it to another jacket. Don't outsource it to running inside. Don't outsource it to a sauna. Even if you have the sauna, just let your body work with that a little bit. Let it get what it needs out of that. Let it spark the right reactions before you go and get the reaction from the sauna. Let the sauna be its own.
Gotcha. A different stimulus, a different reaction, a different type of hormetic response. Make that your body respond and recover.
And they're amazing together. We love to do them together, but but appreciate each one for what they give you. They're just offering so much to you. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, now I know you offer workshops. You're starting to open that back up. I think you mentioned you're going to start recording some of your teachings.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. I'll end up doing a library of just basically talking about the breath and giving some introduction to the principles of breath and how it works, why to do it, and then how to do it. Like a whole library of experiences so that people can. Because that was the greatest gift of COVID in a way, is that, like, I was doing this completely unsustainable thing of traveling around to people. Now it's like I can, people in Nashville and people in
Right.
California and people in wherever, Chicago, really nice people in Canada too. They can't, the time zones prevent and limit things, but actually we can get breath work to people all around the world now. So even in Australia, which is a really exciting thing too.
Yeah. Awesome. Was that, now your website is leighewin.com?
Yeah, leighewin.com. And as you can see, I'm also, you see Nasal. This bad boy here, the Nasal. Yeah. So that's a global trademark. This is also the element, the element of air. Okay. A with this is air, and obviously the reverse is ground, earth, and then the other side is wind and fire. Oh, sorry, fire. What's the other one I'm missing? Water. Okay. But yeah, nasal breathing. That's what it's all about. Give me details. I'll send you one out.
Yeah, thank you. Nasal.io, right? Is that's
yes, nasal.io. Yeah, of course. And of course, that's where we're kind of like getting these little things you mentioned before. Yeah,
nasal dilators,
which are really like, I'm so glad that you said that they were good, because we spent a lot of time refining this, like, because I'm working with these guys that are just wizards. They can 3D print these.
Okay.
So they got a really cool, they've just honed and we got it wrong a few times at the start, but we just made sure that the materials are right, there's the right flexibility, and yeah, we got it right.
Great. I use it every night. I do have a tendency with one side, if I go to one side, one will tend to collapse a little bit. Again, as I'm rebuilding that system. Yeah. But they're been very helpful for me, and they're the most comfortable.
Let me tell you one thing. That is what I hear so many times. Exactly, one side's blocked. Very, very simple thing. It's a yogic technique, but the alternate nostril breathing. Oh. So you're basically breathing in, then you block the other one, then in through the same one. Mm-hmm. Like this, like a V shape. You just keep bouncing through that V shape. Mm-hmm. Minute, 2 minutes. I guarantee you, if you keep going with that practice for just a couple of minutes, it'll feel so much more open. I guarantee you that.
Wow. Okay, great. Yeah. Awesome. Now, are you going to host these online? Is that going to be on leighewin.com, or is that going to be on the nasal.io?
That might be a new platform coming up with that. So yeah, it's coming up, but yeah, it's all good. I can inform soon, hopefully soon, when we finish all these recordings. We're talking about like 20 minutes, half an hour, 45-minute sessions. So I'm just recording. Like it takes time, so we'll get them all. We'll get them all there.
Yeah, it's a great resource. So people can look for you at leighewin.com now and find a lot of information on you and your workshops.
Yeah, and Instagram too. I mean, I've got people daily just, doing little voice messages and saying, hey, the nasal dilators work, or the breath belt works, or this one or that one, or when's the next session, all that kind of stuff. So it's all about community, and it's all about getting people to breathe better. That's what I'm here for.
And on Instagram, you're Leigh Ewin, just at Leigh Ewin, it's your name.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep.
That's awesome. I want to make sure people can find you. I'll link to that in the show notes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other way we could reach out to you? Anything else you want to share with us about what you're doing?
No, I mean, it's just really cool that people like yourself are getting involved and spreading the good message about it. For a lot of people, when they're really looking and investigating their own health. I mean, for a lot of us, we start at the beginning, which means breathing. Right. How does that work?
Right.
And then when you understand that that's how you produce energy, then you have the understanding that you can actually, you can sort of mediate this or influence this. And then from there, it's we're talking about functional breathing. We're talking about, calming, relaxation, meditation. But then we're also talking about, I got to say it, getting high and having these kind of euphoric experiences where people are having these amazingly, really opening, this almost spiritual opening, experiences with the breath too. So there's something for everyone in breath work, and it works even better once you know how it works. It manifests from there.
Yeah. So it's really a practice. Start simple. Start with the basics. Get used to it. Work the muscle, sort of work the breath.
Yeah.
And then let it progress into where your greatest needs are. But a
Absolutely.
practice that can go from, from like, prana, not to open up more, but which is more relaxation, or tumo, which creating the heat, like the Tibetan monks. So I mean, that's much more advanced stuff, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a monk or a yogi to benefit
Yeah,
from it. It can be very simple um, things that help you with your cardiovascular performance, sleep, like we said, just relaxing. And it doesn't need to be this huge, complicated thing. It can be very, like you mentioned,
exactly.
very
The,
simple.
the the number one thing for anyone to get started with breathing is just to be aware of your breath,
Mm,
just to be conscious of how you're breathing. If someone's yelling at you, why is my heart racing? I know, hang on, I know how to, I just need to stimulate the vagus nerve and breathe, exhale, lengthen
mm,
the exhale. Okay, I'm running up a hill. I need to breathe harder so I can actually get up the hill. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's understanding that you literally have the possibility to get in the driver's seat, and you can check in with yourself multiple times per day.
Mm,
And then you can start to understand, okay, listen, why will I think I'm a nose breather, but all of a sudden I've got my mouth open here. What's up with that? And
gotcha.
then you start catching yourself on these things, and you are your habits, right? You are your
Right.
behaviors. So if you're changing or rerouting those behaviors and those mechanisms inside of yourself, this is what biohacking is, right? That's
Right.
that's what it's all about. That's what this
Proactive instead of
optimization is all
reactive.
about.
Yeah. Being proactive in your environment rather than reactive in your responses, and just letting it control you. You are taking control of your health. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Great way to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your
pleasure.
time. I know it's late there,
All
but
good.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna link to everything that's in the show notes so people can reach out to you and connect with you on Instagram, and as well as your website. I look forward to those workshops I'm going to be digging in. So appreciate it.
Welcome. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's been great.